Habs trade rumors are intensifying as multiple rumors are out there, one saying the Habs are in talks to move Joel Armia to the Capitals for Anthony Mantha. We'll get into that, but not only just that, there are also rumors that the Habs could be a broker in a Conor Garland trade, with one source saying the Habs have spoken to Vancouver about moving Joel Armia over to the West Coast. All of that trade news and more on this episode of Habs Digest. Let's just jump into this, Jesse. But as we jump into this Anthony Mantha for Joel Armia trade, I just want to thank everyone for supporting us so far, but also if you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit it now. We have daily Montreal Canadiens content all season long, and we'd really appreciate it if you stuck along for the ride. Jesse, Anthony Mantha. Wow, this is really, really interesting. There was a tweet today from Habs Fan TV, but they sourced David Pagnotta, who said the Canadiens have had talks with the Capitals over a trade involving Anthony Mantha in exchange for Joel Armia. Now, Anthony Mantha is not the best player in the world by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he's similar to Armia in a lot of ways, a big guy who really only shows up every now and then. But the big thing, Jesse, Anthony Mantha is a free agent after this year, while Armia has still another year left on his deal. If these rumors are true, wouldn't this be pretty much the perfect scenario for the Montreal Canadiens?
It would be in this situation, right? Just because of the term. Really, that's what the main thing is. Like, if Kent Hughes can do it, some type of trade where we're not holding salary retention back, that would just absolutely be a complete masterclass, which, would be definitely ideal, but it's definitely going to be tough to do. But I'm actually really open to this trade just for the fact of, Anthony Mantha at the end of this year, just basically it'll be off the books, because he was a great player in the past, a big guy, 6'5", 230 plus, and he had a couple years of, very respectable goal totals in Detroit and everything else. But for whatever reason, as you mentioned, his game is really just fallen off quite a bit there. The last thing you want to do is kind of extending him longer than that. It would definitely be like a little bit of a lateral move, right? Of just kind of bringing in, somebody that's kind of underperforming, a big guy, as well there. So yeah, no, that would be absolutely amazing though, if we could find a way. I mean, we're hearing Armia in all sorts of trade talk. It seems almost inevitable at this point in time, right? His time with the Montreal Canadiens has just kind of run out. So it's really just finding what the best possible situation is going to be there.
Yeah, and I've actually seen some people saying that Washington maybe wouldn't do this deal, and let me explain this again. Like, they don't have very much room coming up next year, and I think Mantha's one of only 2 players on their roster that's an unrestricted free agent. They have some young guys that they need to sign as well, especially someone like a Connor McMichael, right? There's some stuff that they still need to work out. So trading Anthony Mantha for Joel Armia, who has an extra year, doesn't seem ideal from their end. But Jesse, we know that Kent Hughes has been a master of picking up mid and late round draft picks, and you got to think if the incentive is big enough, there's a reason the Habs have built up these picks. It doesn't always have to be for a big superstar player, but in a case like the Habs right now, where they're going to be entering their contention window in a couple years, maybe they want to free up some of their cap space this upcoming summer for some maybe potentially big moves. We've talked a lot about that. We got plenty of videos on that if you want to go look at some Elias Pettersson or Leon Draisaitl stuff. But yeah, I feel like in this case here, giving up a few mid-round draft picks, maybe even just one if the Capitals are willing to do it, to get off Armia's contract a year early seems like it could be beneficial.
I think that would be a great use of some cap space, of draft capital, come to think about it, because cap space is really like the name of the game for Kent Hughes. This is really what we need the most of. This was so important. This is really what's restricting him right now, that lack thereof of cap space, from really, orchestrating this team how he would like it. I'm sure he has a vision, but he's kind of handcuffed. This is, a very, unfortunate deal that's kind of lingered on from the Bergevin era. So any way that we can kind of take care of this, I feel like it's been, addressed in the right ways. First off, by just leaving other spaces for somebody kind of in the lineup, but any way that we can just kind of further that to kind of leave space for further development, I think would be an excellent move.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that is just one of the trade rumors that came out. Like, guys, there's a lot of stuff surrounding the Habs right now. You got to feel a move is going to be coming eventually. And this second one is the Habs are linked to the Vancouver Canucks in a huge deal. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard that Conor Garland is probably on the move. The Vancouver Canucks have been shopping around looking for a great landing spot for him, but there's a lot of cap issues in the NHL right now, and they're looking for maybe a broker in the deal, and who better than the Montreal Canadiens? The Habs could broker a Conor Garland trade potentially involving Joel Armia. Now, Elliot Friedman has actually said that you should watch out for Joel Armia on the trade block. Something is probably going to happen, but Dave Pagnotta, again, he's pretty tuned in. He tweeted something about the weekend about Armia and a potential move, and he said, Quote, I suspect those conversations will continue this week. I do know one team that they had spoken to were the Vancouver Canucks. And he said, I'm led to believe Conor Garland was part of those discussions, though he doesn't think Garland would end up in Montreal. Makes sense, honestly. But he thinks the Habs are one of those teams that are definitely in the running to be a broker in this kind of deal. And Jesse, we saw the Habs. We saw Kent Hughes be willing to broker deals. Look at what he did in the Erik Karlsson trade. That ends up being that's going to go down as one of the better trades the Habs have made in recent years, right? Getting so much for Mike Hoffman and what Rem Pitlick in that deal. And this situation's arising again. And in this case here, they've said the Habs might just take on a contract from another team to broker the deal, or even maybe use their last retention spot if they need to. And you got to think, if the opportunity is there again for Kent Hughes to say, give me all the salary and give me some draft picks, he's going to jump right on it.
And again, a very likely situation with, how teams are so strapped right now cap wise. It's, this is probably how this deal is going to happen, right? And whether the Habs are involved in this one or not, there is a high likelihood that it is a 3-team trade. But as you mentioned, the Habs have shown, Kent Hughes has shown tremendous ability to be able to profit in these types of situations. Again, showing his, just his talents as a former player agent, just to broker these type of deals involving multiple teams. So again, it's one of these situations where it says, have complete, trust in Kent Hughes. It's hard to know all the details of a trade, like this, but you just have to feel like Kent Hughes just has a tremendous ability just to take, assets that we're looking to move from and really bring on some positive assets more in line with what we're going with in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Now, again, it seems a little strange to me that they said that Joel Armia would be moving out to a different team, maybe someone like Vancouver in this trade. Yeah, and I don't know how Montreal would end up getting something decent back in return. But again, like, if there's an opportunity for Armia to be shipped out and you get back a shorter term contract, something like a Mantha, maybe a 3-team trade between these three. I don't think that would happen. I think that would be tough for Washington to do. But still, like, the ability that Hughes has had to get off contracts we don't necessarily like, especially someone like a Hoffman, right? And to be able to get something back in return that Habs fans can smile about is amazing. And I think that is also maybe evident in this other trade. There's a lot of trade stuff going on, and this is the final thing we got for today. But oh no, I don't have the chapter prepared. Whoops, sorry, I didn't have the chapter, but I do have Cayden Primeau stuff. Something needs to change, and maybe something needs to change in net. I'll use the blooper. It doesn't matter. But we have a source saying that Cayden Primeau could be on the move. Now, we have spoke about this before, but there are some new teams that have come up. San Jose Sharks, Los Angeles Kings, and Philadelphia Flyers could be interested in Cayden Primeau. And of course, Montreal has been running 3 goalies, and there's no better time than now to talk about this, Jesse, after his start against the New Jersey Devils, where he had a save of the year candidate. There's a reason they don't want to waive him. They think he's going to get claimed. But do you think he is maybe the leading option between the 3 goalies right now to get moved?
Yes, because he'd be the easiest trade to make out of all of these, just, financially speaking, everything else. At the same time, should they though? That then beckons that next question, which I'm not exactly sure that they should, because I just don't really think that they're going to get back the value of what he's really worth, right? And at the same time, though, it's a difficult situation because you think, okay, well, should we get rid of either Allen or Primeau, right? But getting rid of Allen, you're left with Cayden Primeau and then Samuel Montembeault, 2 very young goalies on an already young team. In my opinion, that wouldn't be the right route to take, at least not right now. Next summer, maybe that's a different conversation to have then, right? But at the same time is, why I can see the merit of keeping Allen, here this year and, keeping the 3 goalies all the same, because it's in this weird situation where it's like, I don't think we're really going to get the value that we really, should get from Primeau, but he's not quite ready yet, right? So just one of those situations.
Yeah, like on the trade market, I mean, looking at past goalie trades, yeah, the DeSmith trade, we got more than maybe we thought we'd get with Tanner Pearson playing great hockey so far, but like goalie trades in the past year, we had a previous video where we talked about it. They don't go for much on the trade market, especially 3rd-string type guys, Cayden Primeau, who maybe project, at least right now, to be more of a backup kind of guy, or maybe at best like a 1B. Right now, it's hard to say that he maybe will or will not be a 1A, but he's been an AHLer. But he's 24 years old, and young goalies are always really, really tough to predict, right? Sometimes they don't start shining until they're 27, 28. You just don't know. So I feel like you said, Jesse, you're not going to get what you want for him on the trade market. You might get a late round draft pick, but at the same time, you don't want to waive him. But I think you made a great point saying that, like, look, you need some experience in that. You need Jake Allen along with Samuel Montembeault to get some wins, get some saves this season while the Habs are still, like, you're trying to gain some confidence, right? And I know
Mhm.
Caden Primeau's trying his best. He had a decent game against New Jersey, but still let in 4 goals. And as a team, you want as many pucks stopped as you can. And right now, I think Monty and Allen so far are the best ways to do that. So moving Primo would be the easiest. So just a quick question before we finish off: like, who do you think might have more trade value? Caden Primo, who is kind of showing he's more of an AHLer, maybe backup goalie level guy, but is still young with some potential, or Jake Allen, who has proven could be a solid 1B or very good backup for another team, but has maybe a bigger contract.
I think Jake Allen still, just because he's a proven commodity. I mean, Kaiden Primeau's still just a huge unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, there's the chance that Kaiden Primeau pulls a Matthias Norlinder, just like we saw him do earlier on this year, earlier in camp, where we think as a player like Matthias Norlinder, very similar to these two players in a lot of ways, were very highly touted. We, kind of the second coming, so to speak, and then fall off a cliff for whatever reason, fall out of grace with the organization. And then, kind of in the case of Norlinder, so far anyway, has very much gone back into the graces, has a very much a high likelihood of, playing a couple games,
Mm-hmm.
more than enough games with the Habs this year. And you have to feel like Cayden, there's that possibility that he does that as well, right? I did like, even though allowing the 4 goals, there were still some flashes, like we mentioned, of
Oh
a
man.
very good goalie.
Oh man.
Like amazing. He did a Superman.
He
He
did.
jumped across the ice like Superman on skates, to make that save, just showing that willingness, that determination. I think that play just tells me a lot about him, that he's got a lot of compete in him, and you never want to rule out those type of players.
No, for sure. He's working hard, that's for sure. And whether he is a Hab in the future or not, who knows? But hey, regardless, we're gonna cheer him on, and we're just gonna have to wait and see what Kent Hughes does. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, so stick around to this channel for all the latest news and updates, because we're gonna try and be one of the first ones on it. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate all your support, and we hope it continues long into the season. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.